Simply a fascinating night in Republican politics last night. Mitt Romney wins Iowa by a mere 8 votes. Rick Santorum surges from nowhere into a virtual tie. Where is the Republican race going from here? Can Santorum take his evangelical coalition from Iowa, turn it into a blue-collar economic coalition in New Hampshire, and move on to South Carolina? A lot more to discuss about this fascinating race. Let's talk right now to Ralph Reed. He's the chairman of the Faith and Freedom Coalition. I'm going to walk over here to the magic wall. Ralph, also a veteran conservative activist. That's okay. Ralph's rushing out the set. Sometimes on live television, you get to see some of the worker bees. You know, I get the credit sometimes. These guys are working hard. Good to see you.
Good to see you, John.
Good to see you. So this is a pretty fascinating night last night. You go back several weeks, Rick Santorum's at 4 or 8%. He comes up with 25%. What does this tell you first about the coalition he put together in Iowa as we look forward? Let's not look back. Let's look forward, New Hampshire, South Carolina.
Well, the first thing it shows you, John, is this swath through the rural part of the state. This is the Huckabee vote from 2008.
There it is right there. Orange is Huckabee,
went heavily
Santorum. Right.
For Santorum. That vote basically was sloshing around, looking for somebody. Various people had their moment in the sun. In the end, Santorum surged at the right time. The second thing you see, and this will have real impact when you get to New Hampshire, is you look in here where Romney does well in the area of Des Moines, okay, particularly in West Des Moines.
Suburbs out here, right?
That's exactly right. I was at a precinct 223 in West Des Moines last night. In that one caucus, Romney got 80 votes, Santorum got 45. Paul got 36, Newt got 22.
There's your difference.
So there's your difference. Right. So when you get to New Hampshire and you look at those suburbs in really the part of the state that is the Boston suburbs.
Let's do it. We'll go back to the 08 model in the Republican primary, bring the map up a little bit. Here's what you're talking about right down in here.
Yeah, and this is where you would look for Romney to overperform. It also means that when you get to South Carolina and you go downstate, particularly Charleston, down through Myrtle Beach and Hilton Head. This is where a lot of the so-called snowbirds, the retirees or near retirees. Remember, John, this is a very different state, demographically, socioeconomically, than it was when Bush and McCain went mano a mano in 2000. The suburbs around Greenville and Spartanburg look a lot more like Atlanta than they did 12 years ago.
That's up in this area way up here.
Yep. Right. And what I think is going to happen is you look for Romney to do extremely well here. You look for Santorum and Perry to do real well up here, and the election's going to be won in the center spine of the state.
So help stack this out. Rick Perry last night says, I'm reassessing after he just cracks double digits. Then he wakes up this morning, says he goes for a jog and says, I'm going to stay in this. Skip New Hampshire, come here. South Carolina is now Rick Perry's Alamo. The question is, if Santorum stumbles a bit, if Gingrich comes in fourth again, is there a chance for Perry to reassert himself here, or is he likely to end up being Fred Thompson, more of a spoiler role, more taking some of the vote up here and maybe denying Santorum or denying a Newt comeback?
Well, a lot of it, as you indicate, depends upon what Santorum does in New Hampshire. You know, I think if he were to finish in the top 3, he could come to South Carolina with a head of steam. Romney, of course, is thrilled to hear that Perry's staying in because he's hoping that Perry plays the Thompson role, the spoiler, particularly in Greenville and Spartanburg, around Bob Jones University, strong Baptist area. This is where Thompson took the votes that really prevented Huckabee from getting the only 3% he needed. Here's the danger for Romney, though. A state that is 60% self-identified evangelical, according to the 08 exit polls. By the way, he only got 1 out of 10 of those votes. Right. If Santorum does as well as he did in South Carolina among self-identified evangelicals as he did in Iowa, and Romney does as poorly as he did 4 years ago, this race will be too close to call.
You've known Speaker Gingrich for a long time. You can tell
30 years.
You can tell that Governor Romney's gotten under his skin a little bit, and he promises to be more aggressive. He says, how can the party turn to Mitt Romney when he can't crack 25%? Can a guy who's in the teens in Iowa, if he finishes in the teens in New Hampshire, can you make the case that the guy who's at 25 isn't good enough if you can't beat him?
Well, I think from Newt's standpoint, he's turning himself into a human missile and firing himself right at Romney. But
can he win doing that, or is he doing it to help somebody else?
Not just doing that. I think he has to lay out a rationale and a positive, a reform-oriented, future-oriented case for his own candidacy. And here's the challenge for Santorum. Gingrich, if he goes nuclear on Romney, is both a blessing and a curse. He's a blessing in that he will presumably pull Romney down, but remember, he also can play that kind of Thompson role. So you look at last night, he pulled 14% of the evangelical vote. If that vote had come to Rick, Rick would have won the Iowa caucuses.
Fascinating game of chess. South Carolina's up third. New Hampshire is next. Ralph, appreciate your help tonight.
Good to
Ralph
see you,
Reed, we'll
John.
see you again as we go in.